such a stupid. It's sort of like that when the BC Hydro and Marcy and P are going into houses doing marijuana raids because they got too many computers in the house type of thing. You can't let them in when they come to the door. They have to come back the next day.
They raided my house.
I heard.
Yes, we got it on global television too, the whole thing. But
Were you bypassing?
No.
But you see that?
I had a whole bunch of Eagle shit in the basement. I'm sorry, Eagle video in the basement. on
they were doing all
computers.
this. He's got all these big, high-powered computers, taking all this power, and
I'm sure they thought you had to grow up.
They didn't even know I had a business license.
And he had a business license. I mean, the whole thing was so stupid. But it was the same kind of stupidity where they come to the door. You say, well, come on in. You want to take a look?
No, I'll be back tomorrow.
No, we're coming back tomorrow. And they show up the next day with 2 police cars, 3 fire trucks, and 2 licensed inspecors, and a fireman, and
An hour late.
And an hour late. Too.
That's right.
Mitchell and I were out for the fun of it, along with the BCTV camera crews. But it's the same kind of thing that, bureaucracy, and we've been fighting bureaucracy for years, haven't we? It's bureaucracy gone.
Are you as allergic to it as I am?
Yes.
I break out in shouting. What do you do?
Oh, I
go to Palm Springs.
So that's.
Can I come next time?
That's what I cannot stand the fact that I have been so put upon in the last month or 2 or 3 months by the increase in tax. A parking tax, the provincial government decided
it's gone up by 200%.
to put in
it's crazy.
And where I was paying $300 for parking, I'm now paying $340 or whatever. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't get a salary increase that matches that sort of thing. That's an incredible amount of money, and the same with medical services.
But all of the civic employees and all of the provincial employees got it.
Yeah, sure they did.
Everybody else is out of work, and
did.
they're getting a salary increase.
But I mean, I just don't see, I just don't know how they get away with taxing us every time they turn around.
Because not enough people actually climb on the bandwagon
because we're
and
too
complain.
compliant.
Well, tomorrow.
We're a compliant group of people, and they're sucking it to us.
Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., there's another Bill Vander Zalm HST announcement coming out.
Oh, good. It's not going to do any good.
Well, we'll see. If he gets enough people and they do that recall referendum, they can force a vote. They can force a vote, and if they force a vote, we could reverse the HST.
And then what? The money goes back to Ontario, to the federal government, that they've already paid the provincial government.
We're so far in debt anyway. Just load another $1.9 million onto the credit card.
It was nothing but a cop-out by the provincial government.
Absolutely, 100%.
An absolute cop-out. They wanted the money.
Aren't you glad you didn't run as a Liberal and get elected? Because you've been asked to run federally, provincially, by Liberals, Conservatives. With all her accomplishments, Richard, you can understand why.
They don't understand how allergic she is to bureaucracy. I don't, I know I could never run. There's times I think, I've got to do this, but there's no way I could put up with the bureaucracy surrounding me.
Well, and I think from a female perspective, from a woman's perspective, it's even worse because we're not very tolerant of that sort of stuff, and because you're not tolerant, and men tend to be more tolerant.
Yeah, but men,
we're easier to get along with a man than a woman.
We get into
right up to the point where they go ballistic and go postal.
Let Shirley finish. She's
Hey.
But we put up with a certain amount of bureaucracy, and then as soon as we start to complain about it, they say, "Oh well, it's a woman. She's bitching." She said, "Look at the number of women. Look at the number of women. Look at Kim Campbell, for example. Fine politician.
Yep.
She got scrapped because she didn't just go along with the old boys, and she didn't do, what they thought she should do.
She's still the only female Prime Minister of Canada. What an honor.
Yeah, but how long did she last? Maybe as long as
9
Joe
months
Who.
type of thing, yeah.
Then you look at Carol Taylor in Victoria. Brilliant woman. I love Carol. Mm-hmm. She could have gone places. I mean, she could certainly have replaced...
Oh, she can still go places.
There's no reason that she can't, but she could have easily stayed in cabinet and
Well,
possibly.
maybe she's going to come back and be the next premier of the province.
I,
No,
We can only
Bill
hope.
Our friend Bill Vandezam dropped out and came back, and I mean that's happened many times, right?
well, there's all these rumors out now that Diane Watts is going to run, and I said to her the other day, what do you think? Because she's another
Absolutely.
dynamic woman.
She's been suggested many times by
Yeah.
many people.
And she
Yes.
just sort of laughs and says, well, I don't like, I find that women tend to be abused when they're in elected positions, and so she's not so sure she wants to go there right now. But I mean, nobody
she's
knows.
in
She's
Surrey,
not going to
and
say.
Is she saying that she is or isn't abused in Surrey?
She's not abused in her own municipality. Everybody loves her. But I think in the big
That's right.
picture of things,
But Vicky Huntington's another
yeah.
example. There's
Yeah.
a dynamic.
But then look, Mary Collins has done, did her thing, and there's a lot of women that have been. Anyway, I don't have time for I don't have time to go into it. I love politics.
But that was one of the interesting things, because I'm back to the life of Shirley Stocker. Because I remember that you were up in Ottawa and you were the blonde bombshell, she was known as. And
Miss Ottawa.
there was, Miss Ottawa. There was, and you were actually you were very much a federal liberal. And Gary
well,
Bannerman, our friend, was a federal conservative.
Yeah, staunch conservative.
And you two, who kept on because Jacques Curry and the other fellow, John Stanton.
Oh yeah,
John Stanton. How could we forget John?
And he
I'm
moved-
sorry, John, if you happen
And
to
he
be
moved to
watching
Victoria.
this. Yeah, well, he went up north to Alaska, to Yukon first, remember, with CBC.
Yep.
Then he came back down. John Stanton, because he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, delightful.
And
That's what's wrong. You see, he's a nice guy. We forgot about it. He was
well, that doesn't mean that
jerk.
Jacques Curry wasn't a nice guy,
no.
but
Jack was sometimes difficult, but
yes, difficult. Anyway, making a long story short, because Richard, you didn't know these people at this time.
No, I didn't.
no, and I don't think anybody in the whole world knoes.
And Shirley, well, I
Well,
did.
now they do.
Shirley had come from Ottawa, and she'd worked for she even marched.
CBC.
She even marched, or she's forgotten one. She marched on the picket line at CKLG one time too.
Absolutely.
I know.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
I remember the picket line.
and I
drove
just
past it
about
many times.
and I just remembered Howard Isidore. Howard Isidore. That was the name of the station manager for CKLG FM. I've been trying to remember his name for a year.
Write it down, Mitchell.
Howard Isidore. Quit and moved to, he and Frank Callahan were the
I don't know
manager. Anyway, but you came out from Ottawa, and you knew all the federal liberals from Ottawa.
Yes.
All of them. Paul St. Pierre was a friend of yours, and who was the
Well,
other?
my
There
job
was-
in Ottawa was liaison officer between the CBC and the politicians.
I know.
So,
So
I
she knew them all.
I knew
And
them all.
Gary knew Dalton Camp and
Knew all the conservatives.
all the conservatives
Yeah.
from New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and Ottawa and all the rest of that stuff. And they had such a powerful program, because if a liberal came to town, Shirley grabbed them, and if a conservative came to town, Bannerman grabbed them. And
I never thought of it I never really related to it that way, but you're
Oh, I
so
know.
right,
That's
because
what
our
you did.
connections were
Yeah.
so strong then.
Yep.
you had the world by the tail, which is
Yeah.
why you were able to, unfortunately for Jack, beat out Jack Webster and many of those things, because he was sort of king, and Pat Burns came back and never really resumed his position. But you guys just ruled that morning
Yeah, we did for a long time.
because you had it.